mean, there you are. All right. Now we're live.
Okay, we're gonna call January 2024 BZA and Planning Commission meeting open.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we have just right at a quorum for both the BZA and PC. So PC's got a 7-member board, and we have 4 of us here. And then I think Otis is on remote. His family's, they got a bug at home, so I didn't want to get it to anybody else.
I do
So
appreciate
that one
that.
viewer is probably Otis, and he said if he had any comments, he'd type them in, and we'll see
See
them
him in the top chat box.
on that section there. So if that's you, Otis, type a hello so I can mark you as attendant.
Sorry. A low meeting, sorry.
So we want to start with we have enough members for the BZA?
We have enough members for both.
We do. All right.
Yes.
Okay, let's go around. Start with the BZA. Any old business? We did not have any from the notes. From your email. Or minutes, sorry, we didn't have any old minutes. So that part's closed out. We have the selection of officers for the BZA. Are we doing that this evening?
I mean, that would be typically done at the first of the, the first month of the year. With, you only have 3 of your members here, but you can do that if you want. Because you're missing Jim Hawk and Bob Knox.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost rather see us table that till next month.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give a better opportunity. Now, that's up to you guys. I mean,
I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
I'm Diane.
Diane.
Okay.
I am not on the BZA, so I don't have a vote either. But
I wrote that down in my notes. I'm horrible with names. I have to say it like 100 times and then I'll finally get it. I mean, that's up to you if you want to table it. We can table it. I mean, because
basically got.
all right, Otis just texted. He's watching, but he says his messages are not coming through on there.
okay,
So
that's fine. You got confirmation he's watching for the planning
yes.
member. I'm fine with that. Really, we have me as the chair and Bob as the vice chair. Do you have any input on that, Diane? As far as, is it up to you? Does it matter to you? I know they're not here to vote, but
Am I the only other one?
yeah,
Oh,
it's me and Rob. So there's 3 of us.
You're on the BZA, Nick's on the BZA, and Rob, and then Jim and
You have Eric and
Bob are not here.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
you call
fine.
him Eric.
Well,
That's what,
that's what I knew him as, because his dad was Jim.
Oh, okay.
So, and,
All right.
yeah, I've always known he was Eric. So
Yeah,
On his email, it's Jimmy Hawk.
it is, yeah. Yeah. But when I was introduced to him, he was introduced to me as Eric, because
Oh,
he was
okay.
younger,
Sure.
and that's all I've ever known him as. It's funny, because
Gotcha.
everybody,
yeah,
somebody says Jim Hawk, I think of his dad, so.
All right.
I don't have a problem keeping it the same if you guys.
The biggest, you don't have Bob here.
Right. Well, we can table it till next
I mean,
month.
you can railroad Bob in.
I mean, really, he's just got to take my seat if I can't make a meeting.
Yeah,
So it's not
I
like.
mean, I'll make a motion that the BZA president be Nick Davis and the vice president be o'clock now. Need a second.
I'll second.
That solves that.
Hold a vote.
Do what?
You need to hold a
Oh.
vote.
Can we hold a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Okay. There we go.
Don't tell Bob we were a train coming.
That's fine. Okay, moving on to closing the BZA, because there's nothing to discuss, to my knowledge, correct, Pete?
We don't have anything
Yeah.
to do.
Moving on to the building planning. Currently, the officers, I was chair, Rob was vice. Rob no longer wants that. It's up to you guys. I don't care to be chair. I can stay chair. However you guys want to do that.
Text Otis, see if you take the vice chair's position.
I asked him earlier.
Oh, he wasn't really.
Because I saw your retirement thing on Facebook, so I asked him if he'd be interested. He says, no.
Oh, okay.
Did he even think about it, or just?
He did.
Oh.
Well,
For about a second.
Last year,
No.
it kind of felt like he didn't know enough, and I get that, but I didn't know if he'd be interested.
Well,
All right, so
then that leaves her.
she's not on the PC.
No, she's
She's not on the PC? Okay.
She can be if we want to move her over there also, but
Okay.
that's, I mean,
I had that
up to her
written
if
down.
she wants to be on both, or, I mean, you can be on both.
Well, I guess that leaves it up to you. Cindy.
I don't feel I could do it justice right now, a little spread thin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
Very
understand.
thin, actually.
You could hold a vote for the president's position, and you could table the vice president's till next meeting if you have no, to see if you can get, because we are only 4 of a quorum, is that right? 4 of 7? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. Unless
We're
David-
5, because
Five.
he's,
Oh.
yeah, we're 5.
Oh, that's right, yes, I'm sorry.
Cindy's on planning.
And so we have 5.
Well, I mean, as far as, can you guys be vice or chair? on here?
Can.
Okay. Dave, you wanna be it?
I'm kind of a newbie, so.
It's vice. Just go right along with it. We'll fit 2 peas in a pod.
That's fine. If that's if I need to be.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, just, if I can't make it, I'll just, I'll get a hold of you and let you know.
Alright.
I don't think we,
I think I
Or
had
is-
one meeting last year that you
right,
were tied up on.
right. And it'll be a last minute thing, hey,
My luck.
but I mean, we have the information.
My luck will be a series of big snows.
It will be
Big-
much,
Big snows right on the first of,
well, the other option there is just don't show up.
I'll just
No,
close
we
the
don't.
meeting for that night.
We don't, I don't think we do as crucial, but like, we don't make decisions as big as like the town council, like you'd be used to up there. We do make decisions and things to push to the town council, but we don't, we kind of report to the council, so it's not like it's,
You still need a second.
Well, I mean, there are a few things that are
that are our group,
under
yes.
our authority to make decisions on, but we definitely have to go to them on zoning changes or, approving a UDO or UDO changes or anything like that, so, but in our comprehensive plan, it's up to us to look at that and then make a recommendation to the council that, yes, we want this passed as is, or we wanna change things or whatever. So,
Right. Well, I wasn't, I'll make sure he wasn't scared of it. Like, it's not, it's similar to the council, but it's not as, probably as tough of a job.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that Dave Ernst as vice chair and Nick Davis as chair, and maybe Mr. Doug would like to stay on the secretary. You don't mind?
I don't mind.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
All against? Okay. It is that way. Moving to last month's minutes, or last meeting's minutes, I should say, from October the 3rd. have you guys had a chance to read over it?
I mean, the meetings was about an hour and 20 minutes, but we really just went over, you know, that summary of the survey for the comprehensive plan. We talked, you know, extensively about water, annexation, you know, attracting new businesses for town, related to the survey. So we didn't make any decisions or, you know, anything like that. It was just kind of a brainstorming over what the survey results for the comprehensive plan said. We didn't even have this draft yet at
Right.
that point in time, so now we have the draft.
Yeah, we got the
Otis
minutes.
voted aye also.
Okay.
Yeah, on the officers, so.
Good chance.
I thought this thing let people.
It says there you sign in the chat, so I'm wondering if you need to sign in on our end.
Well, one meeting I had to like
Right there.
hide the messages because somebody was on putting inappropriate things on there, so I had to slide, and grab that little bar and slide it over and hide it, because they were, you know, just some rando from the internet found a live broadcast or whatever and was making nonsense comments.
Probably somebody on the outside of town.
Yeah.
So as far as the board, I'm just writing all this down. As far as the building planning goes, me, Dave, Doug, Cindy, Rob, and Leanne still, correct?
Notice.
Yeah,
Notice. Technically, the official title for this group is the Planning and Zoning Advisory Board, because Hendricks County also has a planning commission.
Mhm.
So we technically can't be our own planning commission, and we have to kind of be, you know, in communication with them. In fact, it's in our rules that we will at least once a quarter, somebody will communicate with the planning commission at Hendricks County and see what's going on there. We're supposed to have a liaison that takes care of that, which at one point Rob was talking to a friend of his
I was, yeah.
about what was going on with that.
But I didn't know that was one of the requirements. That's funny.
Yeah.
That was just because he and I had to, we just had a
Sure.
common thing there.
Is that just to tell them what's going on in the town? You keep them kind of educated what the town's looking at, doing?
It's the other way around. We wanna
Okay.
know what they're doing
Okay.
so that we can like make sure that none of our activities are conflicting with that, I guess. Not that it
Helps keep the impact
shouldn't.
down. And it's just like, it's nothing like the corridors are up here on 39.
Right.
It's important for us to know what's going on as that comes this way for development, businesses.
Right. Right. Yeah, that way we know what the county's planning to do around us.
And then
So
vice versa, it's their responsibility to keep in touch with us to find out what we're doing. So like if we had done this annexation in 2020 that we were wanting to do, that it would have been their responsibility to involve themselves in that, not the other way around. We wouldn't have had to tell them we're doing this, they would have just had to.
Send the representative down and
Right.
say, hey, what's
Say-
going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
And
if
that-
they were doing, like, they're building, supposedly, I don't know, they're building a wind farm someplace in the southern
So,
part of our township and
yeah.
the next township over, so, you know, but if they were building that wind farm, like, right on the town border, we'd
That's
wanna know.
Right.
And that would be our responsibility to go to that meeting and learn about that. Or they're also building a wastewater treatment plant down by the warehouses. If they were building that wastewater treatment plant right here on the outside of our corporate limits, we would wanna know that. So that's what that liaison position is supposed to do, is to find that stuff out and say, oh, hey, they're building this
Makes sense.
thing, or they're rerouting traffic. Maybe they decide someday to actually go through with their plan of straightening out 39 a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will ever do that, but.
Basically, it's just to communicate changes in the immediate area.
Right.
Okay. But you said that is required, that happens. So if we got nothing going on, our liaison says nothing going on,
Yeah.
basically.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty. That's interesting to know. And then I think we've got the officer and got that straightened out, so then we can move on to our new planning book, which I've got a few things
Now this-
here.
You talking about the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Okay, so, and this is just a draft so far,
Right.
American Construction Point. From what I've been told, Phil Roth said he's cleared it with Okra that we got an extension. Because this was supposed to be done December of '23.
Mm-hmm.
So he's told me anyway, and told Pete that he's cleared it with Okra to extend that deadline.
To when? You didn't
He just said he got an extension.
I understand.
So,
Okay.
did anybody, when going through this draft, see anything that jumped out at them as, hey, wait, whoa, let's back up?
I did a little bit.
Okay, let's have it.
Alright. Believe it or not, they have a spelling error.
I believe that. I found multiple.
Yes. In one of their little red boxes, like it's the second page or something for the itinerary, it says, it's supposed to say road map, it says rope map. R-O-A-P. Let's see. Some of the stuff I kinda didn't understand how, like, I know that things have to be wrote up in a legal way. I don't read legally, I just read plainly and bluntly and whatever. But that thing seems to repeat itself quite a bit, and like it's over repetitive,
That's
and
part of those books, if you
Yeah.
look at several of them, they'll be that way.
that was something I noticed.
Well, and some of that also could be, Okra has 13 categories
Mm-hmm.
that are required if you get an Okra grant. So, and just my guess, American Structure Point said, you're gonna do section 1, you're gonna do section 2, you're gonna do, in their business, whatever they had. And then, they did have, one gal who was heavily involved in the survey stuff and the beginning things. She moved on to a different job, back in October, so right, wasn't it about
That's what
October?
slowed things
So,
down.
and she had
Yeah.
the responsibility of compiling all of this, so then all of a sudden she left and they were like, so, which my guess is why we're not done with this in December like we were supposed to. She was the pivotal person, the point person on assembling all of these categories and putting it together.
No, I understand. I mean,
But if those are, I mean,
I
you can
just
certainly highlight those and
I just
we
seen
can
it
email Philip and say, hey, is this the way it's supposed to be, or can we cut some of this out?
it may be the way it's supposed to be. I just, when I was reading through it, it seemed,
But if you don't bring it up to him, he won't know, so.
yeah, that was just an
we
idea
bring it
that,
up and say, this looks, it's cumbersome with how repetitive this is,
right.
so can we cut some of that out?
Yeah, I mean, I know they went through and broke it down. I think that's why it seemed repetitive to me, because when I read it, it talks, in the beginning, it talks about the basic overlay of everything and the results, and then it goes back and breaks down, and then it says it ties it to this point or that point throughout the pages, which I kind of understand, and it may have to be laid out that way.
Well, I just say part of that has to do with, because we asked that question the last time we did this, because we felt a lot of it was, repetitive, and it's the Okra method is, you have these certain things that have to be laid out in a certain manner, and those things have to, it's not a very flexible pattern.
Makes sense.
And I think they do that intentionally, so that when they review it, they can go through it and look at it, you know, and say, oh, it matches or it doesn't match. So,
Right. I mean, like, one example that, you know, Phil was telling us about is Okra has a mandate, you know, that public transportation is mentioned in there. Clayton doesn't have a public transportation
That was
system.
gonna be the next
We don't
question.
have a need for public
Right.
transportation right now, or, I don't know, maybe, but it's not, it wasn't big on the survey, wasn't, I mean, so,
It's not feasible either.
it's just, yeah, so, but Okra requires it to be mentioned.
Okay. That
So
was
it's
a,
gonna be mentioned in there, because that's the rules, they're giving us $40,000 or whatever it is to help us pay for this process. So they get to say, you're gonna talk.
no, I understand. I wasn't, the very last meeting when they talked to that, I believe I was sick that week. That was the one I knew about ahead of time. The other two I didn't, either misheard it, misplaced it, or didn't.
I think several of these meetings kinda got thrown on everybody, didn't they?
Right.
The meetings with the
In the
company doing
beginning.
this. Cause I know Pete called me one day and you guys just found out 3 or 4 hours ahead of time that they were gonna have a meeting, and, I think there were several of those issues.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of a little bit bummed when I see a list of, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but outsider people listed in the group of different boards and things, which I understand their input is nice, but we're Clayton. Like, I think the people of Clayton should run Clayton. I mean, I know we have to communicate with them what we're doing, but ultimately we're Clayton. That's why we do our own with the town. I just would have liked to have been part of those. I don't know if I missed the memo or the email or whatever to help with that on that, but I do know that the very last one I was sicker than a dog.
There were several calls to lots of people in town, and unfortunately, we got great response on the survey. We didn't get great response on people in town showing up for meetings.
No, I
And
understand.
that's where the problem was. So we couldn't have nobody here. So we went to the next best route, or the engineering firm did, of, you know, the engineer from the county and the planning people from the county and the senior services and the school. And, I mean, there was an effort to get more people in town involved. And everybody said, I'm busy, or they didn't respond or whatever, so.
No, I know. I was just saying the one meeting the last one I was sicker than a dog, couldn't make. The one in September, the very first one, I got notified like 20, 30 minutes prior. That
I think
had
that's
been,
one of the ones we all got notified.
right, like 30 minutes prior, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought they were gonna send us emails or something and let us know, but here or there, it doesn't make any difference. I just seen that seemed like it was heavily laden with other board members from the county or bigger areas versus board members of here. And then the last thing I seen in there that I don't think they have right that I think we should change, because it has changed, is for the trail, they have a current picture of a map of it coming right down through the old railroad bed and talking about how it's proposed to come down through there and all that, when we know that that's not accurate, because we've worked with the trail board to get it to come, you know, down there past Moraines on 500 and then come right into the park. And then I know we've discussed as a board with them about when the time comes coming down, somehow coming down Michigan and coming down. That way you bring people through our downtown for the businesses. So I don't know how we would, we'd need to change that. I feel that way it fits the model of what we had been discussing as a group, for that going eastward part and the part that we've already gotten approved to do. Because they're supposed to break ground next year, correct?
This year.
This year. Oh, okay.
2024, they'll start that section
Okay. I knew.
over there, but it won't go down something that had been talked about and decided on 5 years ago, but we've updated it. And so, yeah,
Yeah, that was a big
give
thing.
feedback and say, change this part. That's the purpose of the draft. is-
No, I understand. That was the only things I seen in it. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have really anything. I mean, that was a big issue because that's a big thing coming through town, a big project. And we know it's coming in on the west end. And I know we have discussed about this, like our parking lot over there. Hopefully, eventually, we can get the funding to get that done because that would tremendously benefit our town for people to come to meetings. That's what does the park. You know, so I think that the wording on that needs to kind of represent what we had as a group been discussing for the last few years over that. But I don't have anything else out of that. Those are the only things that stuck out.
You mentioned something earlier when we were talking about the ADA compliance of the sidewalks.
Yes,
And it
forgot
says,
about that.
they were talking about upgrading sidewalks to ADA compliant. Well, all our sidewalks in downtown area are ADA compliant because the state just done them all.
You're right, I
You know, and that's, I don't know why they're mentioning that. I don't know.
Well, we have lots of sidewalks in town that aren't ADA compliant.
I understand.
And those will, and basically, with our Title VII policy, anytime we do updates to sidewalks now,
They're
we
all,
will-
right.
they will comply. We don't have to go out and do them all at once right now.
Because as you upgrade.
Right, so, and I think in the comprehensive plan, it should reflect that. It should mention that that's the process. as
No,
we
it was
update.
the
But
verbiage.
reading was basically
the-
talking about the downtown area.
Well, the verbiage in it, if you read through it, the verbiage talks about revitalizing the hub of downtown, making it a hub, and they keep repeating that word hub, which I understand they gotta come up with a word for it, but to me that's kinda like, you guys have revitalized, your guys' businesses have revitalized, your property owners have revitalized downtown. I'm not saying we don't need some more work in little places here and there, but I mean, I think our stretch of downtown has grown quite well, but then it talks about widening the sidewalks and stuff, but it talks it in a way that it's talking about revitalizing right when they do the downtown, and it says and it specifically says the only place is right here by the school, if I read it correctly, was that was the only section of sidewalk that was ADA compliant, or they didn't use the term ADA compliant, they used the term, what was the name of that? Where they build it to a certain spec, which is above ADA compliance. And I could find it in that book and read it to you. Yeah. That way we know what we're talking about, because I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. But I just found that kind of unusual with all this, I mean, we're only, 5 or 6 years off the state's, rebuild, maybe 7. I mean, the last time, has it been longer than that?
Longer now.
Yeah. Time flies.
It does.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the time frame, but yes.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing was, they redid 39 and then put the sidewalks and those ramps in. And then, but I was here, after that, and then they came through and redid them again because
They were done wrong.
well, they weren't done wrong, the statute got updated.
Oh, okay.
And so, of course, the state said, well, we better run around and redo all these to comply with this new, statute update or whatever, so they redid them. But, just the ones on 39, because it was, which is nice, because it's a state highway, so we didn't have to worry about it. Didn't come out of our budget, didn't.
Well, I know that's when they've done the ones here at Belleville, and you kind of feel like they put sidewalks into nowhere, because there's not hardly a sidewalk in Belleville. And they get those push buttons and everything crossings, and they go 3 feet each way. You go, okay. I mean, I get it, but that's,
Universal design, that's what they were calling it.
No, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, they were calling it the universal design in the book, and they were talking about how that goes above and beyond, like ADA compliance.
I don't understand why the ones in front of the school would be the only ones that comply when
Yeah, I have to
they were all
find,
done by the same group.
I have to find that in here, but I remember reading that specifically, and that's why I said something to you, cause I said that that's weird that they only say that those at the school are listed. Unless they meant to say, as an example, like the ones at the school, could have been the right verbiage they were going for.
Either way, whatever structure point, American Structure Point tries to say about that, the town is not
It didn't
in
make.
charge of those. We, in fact, cannot mess with the county or the state's
State's highway.
sidewalk ramps, because they'll get all over us if they catch us messing with their ramps. So, I mean, now we could go to the state and say, hey, we just have a question about this. And then the state's probably gonna, get snippy and say, leave our sidewalks alone.
No, that's fine, I just thought, I didn't know if it meant, if when they were talking about it, I need to find it in here, cause
They do need to, we do, and I'm gonna try to find a way to diplomatically ask nicely, I guess, for them to complete a traffic study at the four-way stop, because their own website shows the volume of traffic here in Clayton doing this exponential spike. And, I mean, I've sat, in my dining room over there and watched semis back up because of other semis trying to make that turn, and I'm like,
yeah, that's, well, I read in here too that they said that 39 and then 0 is main, 39 is the main corridor, and then 0 is listed as a secondary, or I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it was a main thoroughfare for traffic in our town.
Otis says page 54 and 55 is what you're looking at.
Thank you, Otis.
Got your back.
They've also got something on page 101 that talks about non-motorized transportation. Sidewalks are mainly located along the streets around Mill Creek East Elementary and Clayton. State Road 39 sidewalks and 88 ramps were recently updated. Portions of Michigan Street, Kentucky Street, Cross Street, and Crawford Street have updated sidewalks and ADA accessibility ramps. The remainder of the town is scattered availability of sidewalks and ADA compatibility sidewalks.
Okay.
They mentioned sidewalks in there about 35 to 40 times in the entire thing. So, and a lot of the stuff that I saw up, because I haven't read all the way through this yet, but a lot of the stuff where they're mentioning it looks like they pull it from a canned kind of template report that they do, and even the pictures that they're using in there aren't pictures from Clayton. They're generally pictures they
Yes,
picked.
I complained about that way early on.
Yeah.
Is they had, even on the Clayton comp plan website that they built,
Yeah.
they had tons of pictures of all these weird
Nice.
places that I
It wasn't
wanted
us.
this from. And they, those are just fillers, we'll get those updated, and then they never did.
What do you say, page 54?
That talks about the universal order, but I was looking for where it said, and maybe I missed, as I was skimming through it, maybe I didn't see the part where it was talking, but if you said you read it where it listed all the sidewalks, but I do remember it was saying something about the school being the only ones with the sidewalks up there. But you're right, it goes back and forth with the sidewalks quite a bit. I'd have to find it. So I even reread it today to go over it again to refresh my memory. And I still forgot about the sidewalk deal. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, it was just, I didn't know if the verbiage was right, if we're editing their verbiage is all. I think that's why I didn't
Well, we can
stick to it.
certainly ask them to address that and get
Yeah,
those
I'll go through it and
changes and stuff, so that's,
find it.
again, why I wanted us to look at the drafts, to give them feedback and say, we wanna document that reflects reality
Yeah.
and what's actually going on.
So I understand correctly, are we supposed to go through this document and scale it back or edit it how we want it, or just provide
This is
feedback?
gonna be
and-
Clayton's comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
So
this right here.
I want it to be Clayton's comprehensive plan and not American Structure Point's generic comprehensive plan. I want it to be ours.
Okay.
So yeah, we want it to fit what we're actually gonna be, investing in and designing and building and.
I see, so you're gonna go talk to them and find out if they can, scale this back to where it's more specific about Clayton, not a generality of templates about what in a perfect world would be as far as sidewalks and,
Right.
and transportation and things.
Now,
'Cause that's a
I
lot
mean,
of what.
some of the things they won't be able to get rid of, again, because the Okra rules.
They
Okra
won't,
has these
okay.
13 categories, and they have a minimum thing that they need to have mentioned in each one of those categories,
Okay.
supposedly.
Right.
I mean, so they do have a template they work off of based on Okra rules.
Mhm.
And so, and since Okra's given us, this sizable grant, we have to
Yeah.
comply with what their request is.
And I found that paragraph, I did misread that a little myself, that was my mistake on that one, but, cause what you just read about, where it talks about the sidewalks being updated. But when I was reading through it, I'm scrolling through the screen, I got that and I thought, that was weird, I know we fixed all those down through there.
It makes it a little harder sometimes on the screen to read, there it is for me, because I feel like it rolls faster than I can, but, and I'm just gonna, this is what we did the last time we did this, and it's totally up to everybody else. Would we be best to submit everything to you, for you to submit to them in a common form by the end of the week? Or,
I mean, it doesn't have to be the end of this week, but
Yeah,
within the next 14 days would
Yeah.
be great. Really, I mean, Pete's kind of our point person with them,
Yeah,
so if we can get all these comments, feedback to Pete,
right,
email him, and then, let him, convey that back to Philip at American Construction Point. So here are the things that our BZA planning commission members, noticed,
sure.
talked about, wanted to know, changes, where the Van Daly Trail's gonna go, where the sidewalk improvements have already happened, and
Sure.
our pavement asset management plan is already, designed and talked about the fact that as we do projects in town, new sidewalks or redone sidewalks will comply.
With the pavement, yeah, when you're doing, so you're only digging it up once, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the one frustrating part is our projects with the Community Crossing Matching Grant, we can redo or repair old sidewalks, but we cannot put in new sidewalks with that money. I wish we could, because we have a lot of places there isn't a sidewalk. It's been, either never put in or it was swallowed up by the,
dirt.
yeah, so.
And repair is not ripping it out, and putting a new one in, that's not repair. Yeah.
Right.
Well, the question is if the homeowner, cause I know back in the long time ago, the homeowner used to be able to, provide the labor and the town will provide the concrete, or vice versa. If they could do the labor, as long as it met the requirements, the building requirements for it. So if a homeowner wanted to do that, is that still something that they can do? Is it still approachable to the town? I mean,
I don't know, we don't have anything budgeted like that
okay.
in the town budget. I mean, if we were going to do something like that, it would need to be an item that's budgeted, because sidewalks can be pricey.
No, I understand, I was just asking.
We'd have to do it in June
Yeah,
for
because,
the next
I
budget.
mean, just that section of sidewalk in front of D&D Auto there
I know,
on
I know.
Iowa was,
Yeah, I know.
that was $36,000. So, 4 feet wide,
Well.
4 inches thick, and
That seems a little high, but yeah. I mean, I'm sure that seems a little high for a sidewalk right there. For
Part
that,
of it has to do with the rise and the pitch and getting everything in, I mean,
Right.
sidewalk and settling so bad, I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
I know, I'm just
It's
saying.
just, I get it, and trust me, I understand.
And $36,000, that,
I mean, plus what you paid for the curb, and then,
well, I mean, I poured 6-inch commercial concrete fiber in a building for $17,000,
yeah,
and so, but that was a long time ago
yeah,
too, so.
concrete's higher than it was then.
Yes, I know. Paid for the curb, I know. But no, I was just curious if that was still,
It is not something that's budgeted for, so
Okay.
if that was a policy at one time,
it's
I
not.
wasn't aware of it, and we haven't been
That
putting that
hasn't-
in the budgets, but
It hasn't been.
we can put it in the budget, it just has to be something that's mentioned at budget workshop time.
I understand. No, it was just a
That's
question.
the problem is people frequently come and say, hey, can we do this? And it's now January and we submit our budget in October, so that'd be great. It's just gonna have to wait a year because you can't,
Yeah, it was
you
just,
can't redo the budget in January after you've submitted it in
Right.
October.
that makes sense.
We used to have forms and everything, I doubt if there's even forms down there anymore, is there? Yeah, we used to have Penn State forms that the town owned, and they had guys that, some of the council members that had some experience would come down, they'd do the excavation, they'd watch them lay the forms and check it to make sure, you know, and then the people would strike it off and edge it, and it was a little different, but I mean, it was a thing that happened, I mean, and that's been, I don't think I've seen that happen in over the last 20 years. But we had, like I said, the town had enough forms to probably do 100 feet of sidewalk, steel stake forms, and, they would just loan, you know, whoever was gonna do it, pick up the forms on Friday or whatever, once they got the dirt down to where they were, and then they'd come in and check it, make sure it wasn't pitching the wrong way and that kind of stuff, and then they pour the concrete a lot of times on Saturday. You know, It's just I mean, it's just not something that's happened recently, so, that I know of.
Oh, that's fine. It was just a question because we were talking about
No,
sidewalks.
I get
didn't
it.
know.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the forms in so long, I figured they were long gone.
But I mean, that was the only thing I had. Do you guys have anything?
I wanna go back through it and do some highlighting, and then I'll send it.
Yeah, I would say, you know, by the 12th or 13th of January, have, you know, an email sent to Pete on, here's what I found in the draft that I'd like changed or questioned or something.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay. Okay, no more input on that. Anything else this evening? Anybody else wants to talk about?
Well, I do have a question. If we send it all to Pete, what if another member of the board doesn't agree with our suggestions or, you know? I mean, I could say something and be entirely wrong,
sure.
so who's gonna make that decision as to, I mean?
I think from an editing standpoint, and what I've seen in the past, is it becomes somewhat of a call for structure point when they see that kind of stuff,
Okay.
to look at what they have to do versus what's being asked for. And I've had them call back.
And the, you know, they have the survey results, they have the input from, you know, the stakeholders and, the different meetings that they've had. So, you know, they're not gonna take one rogue suggestion and go, oh yeah, let's definitely do that. They're gonna fit all that
Right.
in together, you know, try to figure out, but, you know, if obviously where they plotted out this Vandalia Trail is wrong, it's not, we're not going that way anymore, and, you know, then they definitely need to change that. If there's wording in there that doesn't make sense or spelling errors, I don't think that that's gonna be a problem. Yeah.
I'll find the page here to show you. That was something I seen that was really, that I know we, as a group, have been talking about on the trail, but, other than that, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, alright, so Pete will watch for your emails and, compile all your, input information, and we'll send it out to American Construction Point in the next couple of weeks, and as far as our proposed edits. trail, they should be breaking ground sometime this summer of this year. So, that section, and they don't have all the property all the way to Amo, but they're gonna still start on the half that they do have. So they're gonna go from the halfway point between us and Amo into our park.
Yeah, I remember they were talking about that they had had like one or two sections they were still trying to purchase or work out an agreement with.
Nothing in our township though, it's all
No, it's all
Right.
over there in the other
And then
townships.
Reitzel's and Peggy Reitzel and Corey Mitchell and.
Right, so, we can, maybe Pete can reach out to the Parks and Rec person and ask for an update, and next month we can talk about that, again with that, but
I did have
it'll be kinda fun to see that happen, get that trailhead in Lambert Park and,
yeah, for those of the people that like to walk on a trail for exercise, be grateful. Me, I'm just gonna sit drinking coffee and watch it do it. But
that's right.
I did have one question though. It talks in the item section about a Superfund site. Is that the old dry cleaners? Is what they're referring to? Do you know, Pete?
Superfund?
Superfund. They
Yes,
talk about
it's,
cleanup program, and item has different classifications for cleanup.
it's,
And it's page 110.
it's the building next to the fire department.
That's the old dry cleaners from where it got into, that's why they used to have water filtration systems in the cafe and everything.
Yeah, that was my question, because if it was, I know that
They've since closed that.
right, I thought so, so I didn't know why it was listed.
Yeah.
If
So
they-
this, it looks like on the map that it's the building next to, across the street, east of the
Oh,
fire.
east of the fire station.
That's
The
what-
Shorts building?
Shorts building.
No.
No, that shouldn't be a Superfund.
Uh-uh.
It was, so the dry cleaner
It's very
used to
hard to
actually
tell.
sit,
Right.
I know, I get it, but the dry cleaner used to sit where the two houses are between, the old Masonic Lodge, the appliance store, and the town hall garage.
Huh?
There was actually two dry cleaners there at one point. And the carbon tetrachloride and the, what's it?
Where O'Brien lives?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
there was dry cleaners there. And, it contaminated the water, the
It was.
ground in the water.
This is why you can't leave.
Well, see, I knew about that because when we talked to,
I just,
because I knew Ray
that's
Gibson.
those little bits of information that you know, I mean,
Well, I knew it because the Ray Gibson had the house back there. When they were building the doubles, he was the grandson's the one that lived in the little house, and it was a bare lot that was Charlie Arnold's, and then it was the little house that he lived in, to give you some reference of where he lived. But I had talked to Ray, and he told us, he said, hey, they pulled the testing monitors off of our wells several years ago, but just to let you know, they used to do that because of the dry cleaners. So I was curious. I thought that had been closed, to my understanding, because it had
I know they pulled the filtration system out of the cafe,
right.
cause they had a very elaborate and complex carbon filtration system down there, carbon
Right.
filtration system.
well, they must have pulled some document, from the state then, when they were doing their research, that still had that, but we can question them. about
Question about that.
Yeah, that was a-
Why is this still on there?
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I've learned a lot through this process. There's apparently a zone surrounding Indianapolis, and Clayton just barely fits inside of that zone that has to do with, clean water testing and some other I was just kind of fascinated. So,
It's a new one, I haven't heard about that.
I hadn't heard about it either, but they said when they pulled up the map of this thing that they were researching, Clayton fit right just inside that circle. It's this big gigantic circle in the center of Indianapolis, or center Indiana, but.
Like a development zone,
Right.
basically.
I wonder if that moved to, when they moved remember the DOT deal where they moved the lines out and it runs through town now, for the traffic? I can't remember what that is, Indianapolis. I don't remember what it is now, I've got it saved on my computer because I don't, but yeah, I'm wondering if
Yeah,
anybody
some-
knew that.
Weird things like that, but.
How many years ago was that dry cleaners there?
I was told it was the early 1900s.
I was gonna say, cause when I was a kid, Mayos lived in it.
Well, I'll tell you how long ago it's been. The only person that could tell me they were ever in it was Frank Barnes.
Okay,
And Frank's been gone
yeah,
15 years,
yeah.
and he was in his 90s. So, but his dad owned the meat cutter shop where there used to be a butcher shop where the car wash is. And Frank's dad owned that. And, cause Frank talked about it, he goes, yeah, I was right there just around the corner from our shop. And I'm like, your shop? He goes, yeah, my dad had the butcher shop in town. And there used to be a small, he had a butcher shop, the liquor store in the corner was a dry goods store. And then the big house was there. Of course, it didn't have the building on the liquor store like it does now. That was built in the 70s or something like that. But the big house, the next door was a building that had two businesses in it. For the life of me, I can't tell you what the other one was. But the butcher shop was in one side of that. And, cause his dad would buy rail beef off the railroad, and they would haul it down there in the bed of a pickup truck on rail, 2 or 3 sides of beef, and they'd run them into their cooler, and they cut fresh meat. So,
All right,
Something new.
Yeah,
very good.
cause the town garage, Charlie Wilhite lived there, there was a barber shop.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
All right, any other business to discuss?
I don't have anything else.
In the October meeting, you talked about Bob Brenneman
Mhm.
being very motivated and interested in annexation.
Mhm.
Is that still a conversation you guys have been having?
Well,
or-
we talked about it. He's very interested in it. He kind of wanted to see. Here we go. He kind of wanted to see like a plan of growth, I guess you would call it. When I talked to him, he was interested in having water because he knows that's a utility that would benefit the town and help him develop. Like if he just so choose to sell to developers, if he wanted to, being if, he just wanted like a
This comprehensive plan.
right, and that's what
Something
Rob
would
had
help.
suggested, that we get the comprehensive plan done, we take it to him, I talk to him and say, hey, this is what we've come up with, a comprehensive plan, this is kind of the direction. Does this kind of interest you as far as, does this fit, your thoughts on annexing? I'm still, would very much like to see him, us come together as a town and him and get it done, being that he has a big portion of land, quite a bit on, the original map, and that grows the land mass of the town of Clayton. Maybe, it doesn't get developed for 50 years, but it gives people in the future an opportunity to do that in the town. That you can't develop if you don't have it, type thing. But as far as discussing it with him, he was interested. He wanted to see some kind of like, hey, the town. He was on the subject of water in that conversation. He was saying, if the town would say, hey, I'd like to move towards water utilities in 5 years or 10 years or what, just have a plan. And that's when Rob had suggested we take this to him. And the last conversation was 3 weeks ago, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Then he asked me about this morning when he brought me the check, so.
Okay, yeah, and I told him, I said, we're working on it, I said, well, we're trying to get this book together, and that way I can bring it to him. So as soon
Okay.
as,
Very good.
And I think water's getting to be a closer thing for us. I don't know where, but they've gotta bring, if that new development goes through on 39 at the golf course, they've gotta bring water in there. and I don't know, I haven't talked to John, and I don't know if you know any more than the rest of us anymore, but to see if that's still a go. I was at a TIF meeting on the re-TIF of and the commissioners there are still convinced it's a go, but water's gotta be an issue there. So that's gonna put water, Indianapolis water, within 2.5 miles of us, of 40, 2.5 miles of 40. So 3.5 miles of us. That's something we need to watch, because that might be an opportunity when that starts to come up there. So that's just things to think about.
Yeah, I was
You
curious.
say that's Indianapolis water, not Plainfield water?
That is Indianapolis water is what I was told that's coming in there.
Right, and actually, it's not the city of Indianapolis, it's a
No,
private company
it's-
from Indianapolis.
yeah,
And they supply water to most of the warehouses, and they have, I don't know, a well or something just north of Monrovia. And so they pump that water to the warehouses.
They have a water
from there.
treatment plant, and they've got a subline there, there's a 25-inch subline there.
This is huge.
Yeah, that's a lot of water.
Which is good, because the line that comes from Plainfield to Belleville is
6 inches.
Yeah,
And
they were strapped.
You take a shower in 3 different homes and the water pressure's gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's true.
But
Yeah, my grandma lives there, I know.
it's
Because every time they have a fire, it causes problems.
Yeah.
But Plainfield supposedly has upgraded their pump system and is looking at an upgraded line to Belleville. They're looking at putting a 10-inch in. But that's still
Which
not
is
enough.
hilarious, because the planning director for Plainfield sat in the comprehensive plan meeting up in Danville with me and said, we have no plans of coming west
Well,
at all.
yeah, well,
That's what he said. And I'm like,
yeah.
really?
That's
None.
That's a bold-faced
He
lie.
said, no, we don't have any desire to go west at all. We don't wanna go any further than we are.
Well, I'll tell you how little
Said,
desire
"You're
there
ready
is.
to-"
Owen Hack has been contacted by, who owns the cattle farm on Miles Road. There's 757 acres there. 777 acres there, something. Anyway, Owen Hack,
Plainfield's
at his edge,
yeah.
yeah, they're on the edge of it. And he's had 3 developers hit him in the last month, wanting to know what the price tag is.
To put a water pipe in or for all this property?
No, for
his
development.
property, they wanna-
Because they know Plainfield's coming with that water line, because the water line has to go through him, because that's where the existing one comes.
Right.
So they wouldn't be
Is
fighting
the
over a 6-inch
development
line.
that's going in on 600 by, the road to the
Meets
orchard?
Oh, 400.
Is that
400
one,
east.
oh, 400.
Yeah.
Is that road, is that developing, are they getting water from
Yes.
Plainfield, or are they, okay?
They're getting water from Plainfield. So apparently, I didn't know this, because my dad lived across the street from that on the lake, okay? They couldn't get water, because they wanted it, because Dad had, real like fine sand in his water, and they were like, oh, if we could get city water, we'd take it. Because I had to put like 3 filters on his house to keep him from having problems. Well, anyway, when that development come in, because there was a hydrant there at the road, because when Donnie Matthews put that in, he ran hydrant there, because that was the whole reason it was put in, was for fire protection for him mainly. And then down the road there, and they put 2 fire hydrants in on the west side of the road. When Plainfield took that over, they wouldn't they were put in with the intention of spiking down those subdivision roads, and they never would allow them to. So, but anyway, so that subdivision is on that water system. That's one of the reasons Plainfield's having to upgrade. They put 2 new pumps in, and I got that from the guys that put them in, because I personally know one of the guys that works at the water company, or works for the water company. He said, we put 2 new pumps in. We're getting ready to upgrade the line, and part of it is because of that development, because they need more water volume and pressure at that new development.
Probably the volume, not the pressure.
Probably more volume and
Cause
pressure.
I spent New Year's down there at Grandma's house, you hit her ice maker for water and it's like a jet stream, like
Oh,
you
so
can
they-
cut the cup.
Well, that's
and it comes
probably, yeah, that's probably the new pumps. So,
Alright, yeah, I know, one thing I've been bugging Pete about a lot is, he's been having conversations with Mr. Woolard. I've been bugging him about asking him
about the development.
when he's, so, if all goes according to plan, Pete might get him motivated the same time that
Oh, that'd be great.
Bob wants to annex his, and we can do.
Yeah,
That'd
if
be
we,
nice,
if we
and
can
then we'll take
communicate
it
that
at
real
once.
well,
Yeah, he's already agreed, you know, we're just gonna.
Right, you told me he didn't have any problem signing off
And
on
I
the
asked
drainage.
him about the development while I was there, you know, and he goes, oh, yeah, I put in the plans, and I said, well, I remember you being here, you know. So,
Yeah, well,
hopefully he'll go forward with that.
if they do move forward with it or whatever, Pete, just let me know, and I mean, I can keep in touch with Bob, and we can try to, that would work out great. To, I mean, you know, if we could get everybody collectively on that.
You mentioned something like, you said they slated a wind farm southwest of here?
I'm not exactly sure the location. I just know that, the 9th of January, there's a meeting at the regular commissioners meeting.
Right.
A whole bunch of people are being asked to go and talk against having this wind farm. And so, my understanding is it's in the southwest corner of our township. I don't know exactly any other details about that, but then it's, you know, supposed to be in, you know, of course, Facebook information is very rarely the
Accurate.
most reliable, but,
Well, I,
you know, one group says it's 4,000 acres, another group says it's 8,000 acres and all this stuff, but they're putting these, you know,
See, I
gigantic,
had to, I mean, I knew they were bringing them to the county, but the only place I know anybody's even been approached by it has been northwest of Danville, up off the high point there at 236.
right, and that, you know, if you read through all of the posts, they argue back and forth on that. So
Okay.
it could, you know,
I just know three or
people
four
take
major
information
landowners
and
up there that have been
they
approached.
make up their own
Yeah,
stuff
oh,
and add
I-
to it. So it could be that they're talking about that one,
Yeah,
and it's not anything
yeah.
happening in our township. Obviously, after the 9th, people will know a little bit
In
more.
that area.
Well, that's the second highest point in the county up there, or it's actually the highest point in the county right there where 236 runs over the top at Pruitt's Farm. And there is wind up there, cause I used to work for Ronnie when I was a kid, and, I mean, that's, it don't take much of a breeze to make a good wind up on the high spot. But the major landowners around there are all customers of mine, and they've said they don't know. They don't want anything to do with it.
well, I know it was presented because it was in the Republican a couple weeks
Right.
ago, and I read the article on it that there was a company or a group of individuals that came and presented to the county commissioners and was talking to them about bringing in a wind farm, wanting to know if they could do a study, but it didn't say where in that article.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I seen all the Facebook posts right after that, and everybody, you know, running with it.
Right.
So I don't, but I know that it was, the idea was presented to them. I don't know the details, but it was in the paper. Did see that one.
Yeah, I read that too, but that's, yeah, like I said, I talked to several people since then, and everything I've been talking to said the landowners that have been contacted were up around Danville, so I don't know, there may be something down there and I just don't know what it is, but that's fine. But you say that's the 9th at the commissioner meeting?
yeah, that's when I heard that that's when they're gonna discuss it in the commissioners meeting, is the 9th of January, so. Then we'll see what the actual story really is.
Yeah, that'll give us a better idea what I know I seen a sign down here on Gladys Farm, it says no wind farm. Which doesn't surprise me that they would be opposed to that, but see, they own ground, or Marvin owns ground out there by that area on 236, so Marvin Collins does.
I would think solar would probably be a better option around here, but I don't know. Not an engineer on that subject. Do have one question. Are we at a standstill as far as like because I know we had talked about the parking lot several meetings last year, and I know it was presented to the town. Is that like at a standstill until we can get the money as far as the town? gets the money, or-
Well, I mean, we certainly didn't have that much in the budget at the time, and so our clerk treasurer asked us to wait, you know, until 2024. I did find T-Mobile has a downtown improvement grant grant for $50,000. That this would fit, this parking lot improvement would fit that. I need 5 letters from people, either business owners or property owners in town, who support the idea of that becoming a parking lot. And then if I can get those 5 letters, I can apply to this T-Mobile grant for downtown improvement. And then the town wouldn't have to pay the, you know, it could come out of this grant from T-Mobile.
Is there a condition with that where T-Mobile would supply like some kind of hotspot or something for the, is that there?
No, they
Okay.
just like providing downtown improvement for small towns. It's, you know, your criteria have to be smaller than 5,000 population. The project has to be, you know, something that, you know, improves the downtown area of a town, and you have to have these 5 letters of support from people in town, business owners, you know, other homeowners around the area that would say, yes, we like the idea of this being a, you know, a parking lot, trailhead, however you wanna word it, but I think it would fit the criteria of this grant, from T-Mobile.
Yeah.
They just,
It'd be a great thing if we could get it.
I mean, you know, the maximum amount is 50,000, but we can apply for, you know, we want 30,000 for this project, or whatever we might need. I know, just, and that's not paving it yet, that, it's gonna cost us 22,000 just to level it out and gravel it, so grade it and gravel. And then
Which
we
would make
can
it
look forward to, you know,
Yeah, it puts us a
the
step
next,
closer.
right, so then the next step would be, you know, move on to the idea of paving, making a sidewalk or a border, or having some landscaping, having some, you know, parking lights.
Yeah, you could put it in the budget and do it a little bit at a time.
Right.
As a town, you can budget for it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was just curious if there was an update on that. Didn't have really any other projects going on around the town. Do you guys have anything to add? Well, are we ready to call it to a close? We will call this meeting to a close.